One of the most notorious human rights violations in the history of the New Order era was the Talangsari incident in 1989, which occurred on February 7 in Talangsari, Lampung. This incident began with the government's strict implementation of the Pancasila single principle policy. The military raided a small community that was considered to be against the government on the grounds of a rebellion. Dozens of people were killed in the attack that took place at dawn, and houses were destroyed. Hundreds more were tortured, disappeared, and processed unfairly. Because this incident was carried out systematically and widely, the Human Rights Committee of Indonesia stated that this incident was a gross human rights violation. It is important to remember this tragedy because it showed the state's inability to protect the basic rights of its people to live, worship, and associate. Talangsari became a symbol of state repressions of civil liberties during the New Order era. To this day, the families of the victims and victims continue to demand justice.
The 1919 Talangsari Tragedy in Lampung was motivated by the strengthening of the doctrine of Pancasila as the sole principle of the state by the Suharto government. The exclusive attitude of the Warsidi congregation, which had an impact on relation with the community, difference in understanding of Islamic teachings, political situation, provocation of security forces.
The 1989 Talangsari Tragedy in Lampung occurred as a result of accusation of treason against a religious study group led by Warsidi, who was considered to have rejected the sole principle of Pancasila and wanted to replace the state ideology with the teaching of the Quran. The New Order regime responded with brutal military action. On February 5th, the military invaded the village without warning, shooting civilians, burning houses, and arresting 173 people, although only 23 were eventually tried. The attack killed many residents, including the group's leader, Warsidi. To this day, the Talangsari tragedy remains a bitter memory that has not received justice, and the full truth about this event is still hidden.
The Komnas HAM report stated that witness testimony showed the activity of security forces of civilians to commit murder, arbitrary deprivation of liberty, persecution, torture, burning of civilians' houses, firing of swords, and even lethal direct shooting. According to Komnas HAM's monitoring team, the Talangsari incident resulted in 103 people killed, 77 people forcibly displaced, 53 people deprived of the right, and 46 others tortured. The exact number of victims is unknown to date.
Then, what about the fate of the people who survived the Talangsari tragedy? Those who survived the tragedy are now in very recognition. Survivors not only suffer physically and psychologically from the violence they experience, but also face ongoing social pressure and injustice, including difficulties in obtaining employment, education, and public services. Therefore, until now, some survivors and family members of the victim have joined in peaceful demonstrations, most notably the Aksi Kamisan, also known as the Black Umbrella Protest. This weekly protest, held every Tuesday in front of the presidential village, has become a symbolic platform for victims of gross human rights violation in Indonesia to demand accountability and recognition from the state.
Komnas HAM has a legal and moral responsibility to investigate gross human rights violation in the Talangsari tragedy, but its implementation faces many obstacles. On the other hand, activists are the main driving force in fighting for justice for the victim through investigation, advocacy, and public pressure. Their struggle show a real effort to demand state accountability for this human tragedy.
The Talangsari incident of 1989 had a profound impact on the victims and the community, creating lasting trauma. Many victims remain forgotten, struggling to find justice while the perpetrators often go unpunished. Families lost loved ones, leading to deep sorrow and a sense of lost identity within the community. Victims face social stigma, being labeled negatively and experiencing discrimination and isolation. Many feel neglected in the legal system, making it difficult for them to seek justice. The psychological effects are significant, with many residents suffering from PTSD and struggling to cope with daily life. The incident also divided the community, as some individuals choose to compromise with the perpetrators, while others continue to fight for justice. This environment of trauma and distress affects the younger generation, who grow up inheriting these feelings. Efforts for justice continue, with human rights organizations advocating for victims and supporting their quest for recognition and reparations. However, a controversial peace declaration in 2019 was criticized for excluding the voices of victims, sparking protests. Raising awareness about the Talangsari incident is crucial for promoting justice and ensure that the victims are not forgotten.
The Talangsari incident is not only a document in the history of human rights in Indonesia, but also an important reminder of the need for transparency, justice, and respect for religious freedom and the rights of citizens. This case shows how unchecked power can lead to serious human rights violations, and why the state must continue to improve to ensure that similar tragedies do not happen again. In the current context, Talangsari is relevant to strengthen the mind for security sector reform, as well as strengthening legal institutions that side with the people and human rights. The Talangsari incident in 1989 left deep wounds for the victims and their families, and became a dark mirror of the past that must not be forgotten. Effort to reveal the truth and justice that have not been completed are a shared challenge for this nation in building a healthy democracy. By remembering and studying this incident, we are invited to continue to fight for human rights, justice, and the supremacy of law for a more just and human future for Indonesia.